And Jared, you have after that performance, you have the audacity to be wearing a Fitzpatrick jersey?
It's the only one I got.
Welcome back to Buffalo Bills pregame, ready for regular season game 1. Wait, what's that? They played week 1 already? Well, why didn't they try? Well, the Bills have played a game and we're not allowed to talk about it today. So on to the top story of the week. Revenge game for the Chiefs. We crushed Kansas City 41-7 last year in their house. We put Eric Berry out of the season game or week 1. Is this a revenge game for the Chiefs? Do they have bullseye on the Bills' backs right now?
I don't think so. We both looked horrible week 1, so it'll be kind of who's gonna get on their feet, who's gonna bounce back, the fastest. We got injuries. David Nelson's out for the year. Fred Jackson's out again
for
at least 4 to 8 weeks. So it'll be a matter of, okay, who bounces back the quickest? Do we bounce back from the injuries and a loss? And can they do the same thing?
Is the storyline with Chan Gailey being a former Chiefs coach a factor anymore now that he's already beat them once in their house?
Yeah, we don't care.
So that's a one and done kind of story. Yeah. It's a shame. I like the revenge idea. Like, oh, you fired me. The offense did not look fantastic in week 1. Fred Jackson and Nelson are injured, like you said. What are the impact of those on the offense going forward?
Well, maybe we'll finally get to see what C.J. Spiller can do. He had 169 yards on Sunday. So hopefully, he was a number 1 draft pick. So we need to use him and see what he can actually do. So hopefully we'll get to see what he can do, and all our other, receivers and tight ends. We don't get anything from them. So hopefully Sunday they'll show something.
T.J. Graham is going to have an opportunity to show what he can do in the slot position. A lot of people in Buffalo here are looking at an open roster spot for a wide receiver position, a slot receiver, and we're very familiar with one who has been serviceable at that position up to this point. Do you like the chances of Naaman Roosevelt making it back to the team?
I do. I just think he was like the low man on the totem pole. I don't think he was a bad player, but there were just better people ahead of him. So he was the one, he kind of got sacrificed for the team. But I think with Chandler being out, they have an open spot. He may be able to slide back in.
C.J. Spiller ran for 169 yards, averaged 12.1 yards per carry, an astronomical amount, not something that anyone has ever carried throughout an entire season. Do we continue to focus on him as the only successful part of the offense, really, the week 1 against another 3-4 defense of the Kansas City Chiefs?
I think we see what he can do. He looked great yesterday. Probably the only player that looked great yesterday. It seems like he's changed a lot in the season. He used to do a lot of east-west running, which was horrible. So, he got up the field. So, we need to see if he can really, be a first-round draft pick.
And he got a lot of help from some bad tackling by the Jets on that Super Bowl run, clearly trying to go for the ball, not even attempting to knock a much smaller player off his feet. Mm-hmm. He broke 59 yards that should have been about 37, as a result of bad defense as opposed to anything he did. But it looked fantastic. For the first time, C.J. Spiller looked like he was playing against those insurance salesmen down in Clemson again. Fitzpatrick, obviously a catastrophic, terrible game. The numbers don't even begin to tell you how bad he was. There are faint echoes of a recently cut quarterback being called for already. What does Fitz have to do to eliminate them? These weren't interceptions that were tipped off of the defensive backs that were a matter of miscommunication. This was Fitzpatrick throwing to the opposite team. Is it a colorblind issue? What does Fitzpatrick have to do this week to eliminate the copious mistakes?
He needs to figure out who to throw to. He needs to figure out that you're throwing to the guy in the blue jersey. That's your teammate. I don't know who he was throwing to on Sunday, but it definitely was the Bills players, because Donald Jones became the defender a couple of times, and then
he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I was watching him a couple of times thinking, you know, I mean, he's not a fantastic wide receiver, but he could make a hell of a defensive back, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the one interception that was caught in front of him, the guy didn't run back, but, you know, they did run one back for a touchdown, so he has to figure out who he's throwing to. I don't know. Like I said, it's our first game. They might be off route running wise, but whatever it is, they got to get it together.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick's interceptions, not a single one of them were the result of a deflection or, you know, a miscommunication. The receiver's in the wrong route. He just straight up threw it to the wrong team.
Definitely.
And I want to take a moment and mention that Brian Mormon, talking about run backs, Brian Mormon had an incredible streak where his entire career he had not allowed a punt return for a touchdown.
Yep.
And that came to an end this week. I actually have had like a little sadness in my gut watching him chase down Curley, thinking he's not going to catch him, and that's the first one ever. It's the first time he's experienced that maybe since, you know, college, high school, maybe even. So I'm sorry, Brian Mormon. I still think you deserve a spot on our Wall of Fame.
Yes.
Moving to our defense, it would seem that we were going to allow the Jets to beat us by the pass, that we were not going to get run over for 200 yards for a third consecutive time against the Jets, and they did just that. They didn't bother to run it down our throats because they were busy scoring touchdowns in the air. What do we do to have a more balanced strategy going forward against the Chiefs, or are they just going to be able to throw over our heads all game too?
They need to put pressure on. I mean, Mario Williams at one point, it was like he has one tackle, and it was like after halftime. It's like, we're paying you $100 million and you have one tackle? So somebody needs to figure out how to put pressure. So, you know, get in the backfield. Either way, if you're going to stop the pass or stop the run, you got to get in the backfield. You can't let them sit back there all day and decide, well, who am I going to throw it to? And if I can't throw it, I'm just going to run. So they have to definitely start putting more pressure on the quarterback.
Mario Williams, another player whose statistics don't show what a bad game he had. One tackle, no sacks, but you just didn't even notice him throughout the entire game. There was no time, you know, excuse me. Sanchez or Tebow were not constantly picking themselves up off the ground after suffering a big hit, just getting rid of the ball before Mario Williams was there. He was essentially a non-factor. The Chiefs' offense, not quite as full of weapons. Is there anyone on this offensive breakdown that intimidates you, that you're worried about going into this week?
No, but that's not always... That's what's kind of scary, because you never know who's going to be the player that's going to have the good game. Peyton Hillis had streaks when he was in Cleveland where you thought he's really going to be good, and then he kind of fell off. But just because there's no standout player, you never know who to guard, because somebody is definitely, you know, going to have a good game. If you focus on one, then somebody else is going to have a good game. So that's what's kind of scary, that there's no one player that you can kind of focus on. You got to cover everybody.
Concerned about that dark horse. I think Matt Castle is a mediocre quarterback at best.
Yeah. And
I can't be a hypocrite what I say about the Bills, and you're only as far as your quarterback is going to go, as far as your quarterback will take you. And I don't see the Chiefs' offense doing fantastic things this year. I think this is a chance for our defense to kind of make up for their not showing up to play this last week. Which brings us to the topic of discussion this week. Andrew Bobeck, who is in competition for the $100 grand prize that will be chosen at random for contributors to the show. All you need to do is comment below this video and ask for a topic for us to discuss, and you will be in to win $100. But Andrew asks, what do you think the Bills need to work on to improve during the season? An appropriate question considering the catastrophe we just watched this week.
As a whole, probably the defense better. I mean, with the offense is just Fitzpatrick. The defense didn't really do anything yesterday. They scored when they felt like it. So I think as a unit, the defense probably needs the most work. They have the better players, but they're not playing up to their potential.
I'll have to reiterate what you said. I have a lot of respect for Dave Wanstead, what he's done in the NFL, what he's done for the team as a linebackers coach last year. And I think it needs to take a week and coach him up and get that defense to play as a unit and really close some of those gaping holes that we left. It wasn't pretty, and with all the time that Sanchez had to throw, it's not a winning formula. So keys to the game, what do the Bills need to do to win against the Kansas City Chiefs?
They need to put pressure on Matt Castle. He can't have all day to throw to whoever he decides to pick up. He can't have all day. So the defense definitely has to pressure the quarterback.
I think the Bills have to keep it close, no matter what right away we fell behind this week. This is the home season opener here in Buffalo. It's supposed to be beautiful weather. It's been sold out for months. The crowds here are really anxious to see the Bills play, and as long as we keep it close, the crowd will carry the team. You know, as the Kansas City Chiefs get close to the end zones, it's a really loud environment in Ralph Wilson Stadium, and that cannot hurt us at all. So, who do you have to win this week?
Only because it's the home opener, and they usually do pretty well at home. I'm reluctantly going to pick the Bills, but I'm doing 23-17.
23-17 Bills. I think that the Buffalo Bills are going to be playing on their A game. I think that the Bills will win just enough games this season to make sure they don't get a good quarterback in the offseason, so I'm picking the Bills to win as well. A little bit tighter, 24-21. Next week, we're playing another Rust Belt city right down the road, Cleveland Browns. Always fun playing a team whose fan base is so close to ours.
Yes.
Must be a tough game for people in Erie.
They'll definitely be here. And with them losing last week, and they lost close last week, so it'll definitely be a good dogfight.
All right, go Bills. We'll be back next week talking about the Cleveland Browns, and don't mess up, Fitzpatrick.